and tanks, and we already see a Trundle ban. So KT being on blue side, the priority for Sion just goes through the roof. If there is no Trundle, Sion has just been God.
Certainly has been. So as we get into the first round of picks, the final round of bans here, at least in phase 1, and Champ Select powered by Omen and HyperX, we're looking at the Neeko, a potential first pick angle. Both the Neeko and the Bard were banned against Keria in game 1, and T1 have a choice. Do they want to risk giving this up? The answer is yes, but as you highlighted, the Sion is available in a world without Trundle.
So there is Sion available. I think this is a B1 Neeko. To me, feels like a no-brainer. It was Peter who, for a period of this year, was genuinely the best Neeko in the LCK. Found incredible engages on it, but it's also the Yone this time around open for BDD. Now that is obviously something matchup dependent. Last time they banned it because they played the Talia, which can really struggle post-6. We'll see if the Sion to me does feel inevitable as highlighted, but what else is T1 going to pick up here?
And then you have to worry about how effective do you feel like the Rek'Sai counter into Sion is? Because we have seen varying levels of success or failures of players using it. I think that Perfect definitely can use that very effectively and, you know, get some early CS lead, get some early turret plates if they do it. So as expected, the Sion goes to go down because of the Trundle ban, and then I'm already thinking of KT, possible Rek'Sai there for Perfect in answer to get his own kind of lane counter.
And Jarvan, to me, really goes up in value once both Poppy and Talia are out. Both of those are not available, so that does mean that it's a lot harder to immediately and easily punish this champion.
Definitely the case, but anytime, of course, the Sion is locked in, I'm keeping just in the back of my mind, the potential of a swap. Looking at that bot lane 2v2, knowing how effective Sion can be in those swaps at just withstanding pressure, but KT debating how they want to respond to this J4. Vi, a champion who pro players have loved for so long, but a champion that often has struggled to find impact on the world stage. You can see 4 wins, 12 losses.
And you want to get a kill combo with that Vi for your mid laner here for BDD. Are they going to drop BDD's pick, or are they going to drop the top lane answer into Sion here? I guess you could say, Perfect, just play a tank or something, and you don't necessarily have to go the Rek'Sai answer into it, and so they could invest in the other lane.
I do like relying on BDD's champion pool and just making sure Perfect's comfortable. This is one of the champions that he has played. And one thing that T1 does have to be careful about is that already they are looking to go towards a 2-carry composition. And that is something that I do think the Vi, Neeko specifically, can punish really well, because Sion and Jarvan early game actually do bring out a surprising amount of damage. Jarvan is fine going later into the game, but when you have enough dive to guarantee that one of the 2 members will be taken out, you might struggle. That's why I like the Sivir pickup. Sivir is one of those carries that is very hard to lock down. One of the picks that's good into is already alongside him with that Jarvan that can actually reliably lock it down. So I think the Sivir prio here makes a ton of sense.
Of course, securing that Rek'Sai, as you highlighted, does cost at least one champion from BDD with the Yone banned away. And we already have a support pick locked in for Peter. We mentioned it in game 1, and we should say it again. Bot lane 2v2, incredibly important for both these teams. We saw in game 1, KT with bot prio, able to run the map for the first 15 minutes. The question is, can they set that same thing up again?
And there's also the fact that one of the best champions we've seen with Neeko, one of the most impressive, is Corki, where Sivir actually has a good matchup into Corki, which frees up a ban for T1, which most likely, okay, I actually was going to, I thought that they were going to throw all of it on BDD, instead going to take away the Kaisa here for deokdam with Vi, with Rek'Sai, and with Neeko. Makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's just too good of a Kaisa angle there for KT, the dive, so wanting to deny that one makes a lot of sense. Faker Galio as well gets taken off the board. The protection not going to be there.
And the question is, how much emphasis do they want to put on giving full information to Keria before he goes for his counter pick? Obviously, you know what support you're playing against, but a 2v2 a lot more complicated than that. Going to opt, it looks like, to give that counter pick to Faker to make sure that he is really set up for success and to use this Lulu to ensure that Keria can do whatever he wants in these fights.
And with the Lulu, you have extra safety for one of the 2 carries that you're going to get, right? It also is a lane that can actually be quite oppressive, particularly when paired with something that shoves well.
Looking kind of at the options remaining for KT, the Ezreal certainly feels like he can stay at arm's length, gets out of the J4 kind of threat and pressure quite easily. That said, I am looking at the T1 lineup waiting for a big source of damage. Sivir takes a lot of time to scale up. You have a lot of amazing front-to-back tools for T1, but with Azir and Orianna banned away, where does Faker want to go with this counter pick?
Yeah, maybe the Victor, maybe the Mel that he has liked. Mel, maybe save that one actually later for later in Fearless. But some sort of control mage that does output a lot of damage like you're talking about, like the Victor. Only problem would be then that you would be very vulnerable to the dive that KT are showing.
And this is what I'm wondering about is, what are you going to pick here?
Oh, they
my
steal it
God.
away!
It actually is stolen. That's crazy to me because I was looking at something that pairs well with Vi, and I think the issue here is that a lot of champions who would want to go with Vi are things that dive as well. Like, think about the Akali, for example, but you can't really blind those at the risk of getting counterpicked. And instead, BDD says, give me the Mel, a pick that has been rising in prio this tournament. And I like Victor when it comes to a two-carry composition. But you do need to get to your items because the early game for this comp is not looking too hot.
And I think that we have to hope, or at the very least the KT fans have to hope, that BDD's first game on Mel isn't his first ever game, but just his first competitive game, as we did see with Oner and Mundo early on, and now you're against Faker's Sylas. Front page of Reddit, we've watched the play 100 times. It was Medic last year, an incredible World Finals call. Faker stealing away that ultimate from Rakan to make an incredible game-winning play. And let me tell you, there are a lot of incredible ults for him to take once again.
And I'm definitely looking at the Neeko ultimate for sure, too. If he can find Peter, if he can steal the Neeko ultimate, the engage there would be huge.
I do think, though, with the Sylas, it really does help you with the early game issue that you otherwise might struggle with. Obviously, Sylas also, once you are able to get on top of the Mel doesn't have the ability like she does against many others to kind of create space with her W. But I do think it makes the composition a little awkward. It patches your early game issue, but I do think now you have a composition that on one end wants to play for the Sivir and really try to play that classic front to back, keep safe, absorb the initial dive that comes through, but Sylas kind of does the opposite. So we'll see how T1 is able to navigate that, because I do think if they would have gone for the Victor, like the first item, spike or two, really doesn't feel that impressive to me.
And I feel like KT in the later stages of the draft actually drafted themselves some versatility here, since they indexed very heavily into range with both Ezreal and Mel having very long range. They can try and go for some poke damage early as well and try and force the shorter range T1 squad to do the engaging on them and look for a possible counter.
And as we get into game 2 here, remember to log in to your Riot account on lolesports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive world emotes, icons, and capsules. Ooh. But you might not have time. You might want to wait until after whatever is happening here continues to happen, because Keria running for his life. Faker there to body block any potential follow-up damage. Standard comes down, gives enough information to know that KT is backed away, but KT making an aggressive level 1 play to seize control of this early jungle.
And we do see KT again going for a very aggressive invade. These level 1 plays in the early laning phase was something where KT was just straight up better in game number 1. So to try to leverage that again, not really going to lean to anything meaningful this time around. Keria didn't have anything forced. He will be there with the main wave. So unfortunately for KT, no big advantage found, as Perfect doing a little bit of scouting here, but they are on the ward, so I don't think either Faker or Oner is going to fall for anything. And no swaps to come through. And we do have both junglers again pathing from that top side towards bot.
And reminder for anyone who didn't keep up with KT, who has just been here for this fever dream of a run to finals, that while everyone has stepped up with this lineup at Worlds, it was the mid-jungle that really brought this team together, that got them across the finish line. And when you look at Cuzz and BDD, right, these are guys who have played together for so damn long, and now anytime KT's backs are against the wall, these are the players that we look at to really make the difference and stand up.
Certainly so. Such a long history playing together, multiple teams, multiple years, and they really do trust each other and have talked about how much it means to them to be here on this stage.
And it's also recently a story of almost, right? As we're going in again.
Of level 2 on the bottom side as well. deokdam and Peter getting aggressive. Ezreal, before that first back where he has to invest money in tier, can be so lethal as long as those mystic shots are connecting.
They are there. And this time it's deokdam that actually wins the arm race, right? He's the one with teleport, and Gumayusi doesn't, because as Ezreal you are given the liberty of doing so because your kit has a built-in escape. It's something that I think T1, even though it wasn't necessarily that flashy, did actually end up using very well. We saw them out macro KT once they got control, really applying a ton of pressure to the lanes. As right now, both junglers I think towards that bot side, and Guma not having flash available might be looking for something there because both of them very strong early ganks as well.
Definitely true. Cuzz continuing to clear out the red buff. And really need to continue to keep our eyes on the bottom lane. The flash, of course, expended. The heal expended, so a potential vulnerable point. Meanwhile, on the top side, Perfect, a lot of sustain, but really hasn't been able to wrest control of the lane in terms of overall priority. Constantly, however, threatening the knockup just to stop Doran from forcing this wave all the way in.
Yeah, the sustain on a Rek'Sai, so nice. And these tank matchups will eventually start to whittle him down and look for the extra pressure there. Meanwhile, speaking of pressure,
Oner wrapping around BDD. False sense of security because his bot lane is moving first, but the jungler already there. Nice initial sidestep, flash backwards onto Faker. The root connects. Good damage from BDD, but he can't quite finish the kill. And the flash expended means advantage to the side of T1.
You'll take that if you're Oner. That means that once you hit 6, that is a Mel without an escape. If you do find your ultimate, BDD will be able to maintain his pressure on this lane, but he does have to pay for it heavily.
and the critical part is that T1, they don't overextend the play because Cuzz and Peter were on the way there, and now they're looking at Guma.
KT getting aggressive, just knocking down Gumayusi, taking first blood as Peter flawlessly turns into the Canyon minion to eat countless tower shots.
We've seen this so many times, and it actually does get old seeing that happen again. Neeko turning into the cannon so you can get that passive.
I'm right there with you, Kobe. It does get old.
You can just keep tanking tower shots. This one wasn't too egregious because they didn't have to take quite as many, but they pull off that play. And this was, again, Peter and Cuzz playing together. They had linked up and they were looking to counter the mid play. Then after the mid play, they just turn their sights, wrap around towards bottom side of the map, and they find the value there.
Now T1 resetting, putting Guma on the top side, knowing that he needs a bit more time. This is one of the downsides of Sivir. We know her to be this wave clear machine. She can take control of mid. She can empower these dive threats, and she can be a late game carry. But early on, if she falls behind, she doesn't do a lot. T1 trying to get some more resources in Gumayusi's pocket, trying to give him time to stack the coal so that he can be relevant in the fights to come.
And KT are off to another good start here. And for them, I imagine coming in, Scores has talked to them to the early game was great. A lot of the things there went well. We're able to generate a lot of leads across the board. Early dragon stacking plus the grubs, but it was actually following through and not giving T1 any opportunities. We know how much resilience this team has. We've seen them do it again and again and again at Worlds. As a little bit of damage here on the door, but he's Sion in a 1v2, so he'll be fine. So for KT, that's my test. The objectives early, I trust that they can get, but can they actually keep that pressure up?
And this is one of the advantages of the Sion, right? No real hard CC to interrupt the decimating smash here in that bottom lanes means Perfect can be more at risk when he steps forward to clear. Luckily for him, however, Gumayusi is behind. There's not a lot of damage threat there. And it's Peter playing with fire, roaming into T1 jungles, giving perfect information to Cuzz. Oner might have a false sense of security here. Doesn't have information on Cuzz. Peter now committing a little bit more. Q over the wall, the Vault Breaker, immediate route to follow, but Oner going to flash to safety, uses the smite to secure the grubs.
Would you say worth?
I would say definitely worth. I mean, Peter and Cuzz, again, we keep on highlighting
No, for Oner, because he got Grump. Yeah, come on, Kobe. You're a jungler.
I'm going to go, yeah, sure, I'll go worth there for Oner, flash for Grump. But honestly, highlighting, Peter and Cuzz once again, doing the setup work there for the jungler to come over, and we'll see. Can they actually punish?
And actually, yeah, I love this from T1 because last time it was KT that were set up early in River where they were able to generate some big leads. This time the trap is the opposite. Perfect has made his way onto Guma, but just doesn't have the damage yet. Not enough items yet to actually friend this Sivir, but does get the barrier.
Crucially does get that summoner. It is a small advantage, but it could matter in the next few minutes. T1, as you highlighted though, get the initial setup, get the initial vision down, so know that they're safe here to take the first Drake of the game. KT with a small gold lead, but T1 balancing it out with this Cloud Drake. Cuzz on the top side means no contest to come through, and T1 doing a better job of not giving away too much control in this game too.
Dragon secured in the aftermath, and now you also get your level 6 here for Oner, so we'll see if they can actually apply that pressure to the mid lane. They did burn BDD's flash, but look at it, it's almost back up here, a quarter of the way to go for BDD, and Cuzz is doing the work to get him some extra vision around mid lane, try and bridge that extra little timer, the window where you would be vulnerable to a J4 ultimate.
Might have also been the reason why KT, they really didn't want to commit to that fight, because if Oner just ults onto BDD and Faker gets on top of him, like, what do? There isn't really any counterplay for the Mel, who again likes to play at range, slowly stack up that passive. Ultimate is available for BDD, so that execute might end up being valuable in the fights to come, and there is that stolen Neeko. I think by far the best out of all of those, unless you really want to go for a very specific play with like the Vial. But generally, that Neeko ult gets so much value. Sylas has many ways to get on top of his opponents. Between his rocket belters, there he goes.
Middle, on to Peter, catches the real target. Keria there for the follow-up. Flash out from Peter, forced to use the heal as well. And of course, while he's really far away from that ultimate, not having that for the fight when he finally does, that flash is going to be critical.
Yeah, double summoners off of the Neeko, off of Peter could be very big. Is going to mean that KT will start up these grubs though, and Peter heals up off those honey fruit.
And Faker doesn't have his ultimate available, so that might be the reason why T1 is a little bit hesitant. And also this time, their skirmishing just isn't quite as strong, right? In the previous game, I think that they had so much power there.
VDD.
Not quite the case here.
Getting aggressive, access to the golden clips is there. Wants to reflect a bit of the damage back onto Faker, but not quite in kill range yet. Crucially though, Faker no flash because of the previous play. Cuzz still does have access to that ulti as we hear the farm alarm on the top side. Doran there just in time to clear out the wave.
I like it. You know, we're setting up some of these early fights, or really, I wouldn't call them for the LCK standard. These are fights.
Yeah, it's fair.
You know,
early
for me,
fist fights, an absolute
yes.
bloodbath.
Yes.
1 kill at 9 minutes.
I'm glad you guys are appreciating it with me. That's very nice. But we are seeing
less a war, more of like a telecom skirmish, telecom scouting mission.
A telecom polite, you know, discussion between. Oh, you will take dragon? We will take grubs. That's very nice. Thank you very much.
Deal. Honestly, though, I think we might be in for a long stretch of farming for Guma.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about it earlier on. The Sivir here does need multiple items to really have that extra pressure, and the team is built around a Sivir Lulu comp here. While there's possibilities elsewhere.
Nice side set from BDD, just barely able to get away. Ball breaker coming in for Cuzz, opts not to flash. The turn back from Oner is solid. Faker now on the way in himself, trying to use the golden clips to keep things going. The Ezreal ulti across the top. BDD grabbing one. Faker will turn it back, but he's under the tower, and it's Cuzz to take him down.
And it's the subterfuge from KT. Cuzz actually spotted that Oner was there. So BDD says, let's go for the play. He's ready to make sure that Oner and Faker don't get on top of him. And once they do, they're too close to the turret, and it's a big win for KT.
Yeah, nicely done by BDD, flashing under, and then roots Faker under the tower so that they can get the 2-for-1, get the 3 kills here for the feats of warfare in the aftermath. And this is even with the beginning of the play is actually quite nice from Oner because he uses his unstoppable from Jarvan ultimate to avoid the CC from Cuzz as he comes back in. But then Faker into the tower range, and BDD is able to at least root him before he goes down.
And it's BDD starts it up with a 2-man root, and then also is the one that secures it. And for me, nothing tells the story of these two players together more than Cuzz like, BDD, I'll flash. It's fine. I'm going to set you up for that kill. I'm going to make sure you get your execute, and I'm going to make sure that we win this play.
And while earlier on we had about 1,000 gold lead for KT, it hadn't resulted in any major item completion, so the game still felt close. But now it's Cuzz with the Sundered Sky ahead of schedule, ahead of the next Drake in 1 minute, and that is a massive early game spike.
Cuzz, again, I mean, he started last game with a really early spike as well. The Wukong, lots of early money, got to the Trinity Force very early on, and it just came down to the Dragon fights where T1 were able to turn around. This time around, though, since they're running the Sivir, and we do kind of project a longer term for T1's kind of attempts at the turnarounds, this probably should be KT with some really comfortable setups. Look at how deep their vision is on the bomb side of the map, and attempting another dive.
He's low, but reinforcements, I think, will be on the way, and it looks like the wave isn't in a position for them to actually make it happen. As perfect. I'm a little scared there, but Doran can't clear the wave in time. But Faker being this low does mean that Prio is there for KT. Does have TP, but they're not letting him.
No mana for deokdam, still advancing forward, knowing that he has Peter behind him to cover. Will now retreat. Tension starts to fade, top side, the TP coming back from Doran, checking in on the sums. Obviously no flash for BDD, no flash for Cuzz. Oner's flash available, could be big in the coming fights. Completed items for both sides, jungle mid.
Oh, this is big though, because Doran at the TP top. He can use his ultimate to join the fight, but Perfect actually finishes a Titanic Hydra, and thanks to the proxy, will be trying to arrive as soon as possible, even without TP available.
No vision control of the pit. Finally a ward is dropped, but it might not matter. Peter with flash available.
There's the ult.
Cuzz off to the side. Ulti from Doran's not going to catch anybody, but it might have zoned KT away enough. Doran likely to give his life here, but the Drake already down in favor of T1. On the hunt popped. Perfect tunneling out to safety. T1 got what they came for. They're going to make a hasty retreat. They don't want the 5v5. Content trading that ulti of Doran for the Drake.
We'll see if they're able to get anything out of it, or if that is just going to be it. KT don't expend any major cooldowns. I think BDD and deokdam we're going to have to TP regardless. We'll get Doran's ult, but that's not really enough. The prio will continue, but 2 Drakes early for T1. Definitely a big win.
Yeah, nice setup, and then, as you say, Doran coming down. Good ultimate from him to zone them off, secure it.
Ulti to cancel Keria's reset. deokdam going to push one more wave. Likely has the Trinity Force in base, but just wants to deny a few more resources from Guma, who has done a good job of evening out what was an early game deficit. Has picked up the Essence Reaver, can essentially infinitely wave clear in mid if he's able to access that creep wave.
What do you see deokdam shoving this wave? Looking for his base. Trinity Force will be ready for the Ezreal. 1 item spikes to come through for every member of KT. Close to for T1 as well. Really only waiting for Doran. Neither support has that yet, as in about a minute, this Herald fight, I think, going to be a big breaking point. And we'll see if T1 needs to fight. I do again want to echo T1. I don't think need to fight this, but knowing them, I think it's fairly likely that they will.
Would be fun to watch for sure. Trinity Force spike for deokdam, definitely very big here, so we expect KT to go set up towards that side of the map fairly quickly here. Only 45 seconds left on the clock, so they're going to transition their extra resources over this way. deokdam and Peter here first control the mid wave, and then wait for Cuzz to rotate.
Keeping good pressure, of course. That Trinity Force completed is big. Hard for Guma to step up, even with the shielding that Keria can provide. Luckily for them, at least, Guma has the red buff, a bit of extra sustain. The battle over mid-prio has begun. Remember in Game 1, it was Guma on the lethality bars, infinitely pushing mid-waves that made so much of KT trying to advance that lead feel pretty impossible.
This time it's deokdam that can do it into 1v2, right? Being Ezreal, being really hard to punish. I also want to echo, last game it was the Poppy. This time for Keria, on the Lulu, offensively, he doesn't get to have nearly as much agency, but he can kind of fulfill the same role. And Cuzz is currently sitting on the biggest individual lead we have in the game. If he goes in too aggressively and he gets hit by either the Poppy W, he gets ulted on, and gets knocked in the air by a wild growth, he needs to be very careful about how he picks his fights because, again, T1, there's only 2 big carries, but this early on, the damage is still there as BDD.
BDD potentially caught out, layering into CC a little bit off. BDD unstoppable for a brief moment, ready to use the ulti, but Faker has stolen one away. The goal in the clips, but the follow-up is there from Peter. Makes it a 1-for-1. Vault Breaker coming in. Faker just CC'd for an eternity. The Kingslayer healing not available in time as Cuzz is on a killing spree.
So T1's idea was to make the quick play before the Rift Herald fight, but KT, they close the trap, they get 2 back for themselves, and the teleport from Doran does signal they want something.
I need to
Doran
be careful.
Here. Tower going to fall. Likely not enough damage to kill Doran, but at least zoning him away as they set their sights on the objective. Herald already started. Cuzz will secure it uncontested. I
did get tricked by Peter being Mel there. I'm like, oh, a good amount of... No, they don't have damage. The play still works out, though, very nicely for KT. They get Doran's TP, they're able to get topside turret, and Herald, this time there's no Talia in the game. That mid lane turret feels like it's sure to fall. And whereas last time, KT wasn't able to actually break the game, it feels like this time they're closer than they were able to in Game 1 as this turnaround and the reinforcements for KT were beautiful.
Again, T1, they want to go after BDD. They want to take down the star player there for KT. But it is the rest of the team that assembles and they get there in time. T1 knew that KT were trying to do vision setup work over by the Rift Herald. So they knew they had to make that play really quickly. But being unable to do so means that not only do they lose the extra kill, but they also lost the objective. So now Rift Herald Eyeball in Cuzz's inventory will allow KT to really press this lead. That thing basically is going to guarantee you another tower, and they can truly open up this gold lead.
Oner doing what he can with the standard to regain control of vision. And I gotta say, BDD has been really solid on the Mel. The use of the rebuttal to buy time has made what should be an easy kill combo of this Jarvan, paired with the Sylas, really just take far too long to finish off what should be a very vulnerable control mage.
And when Faker and Oner are trying to attack him and they dive these towers, he's getting roots off on them under tower aggro.
Of course, Cuzz is the big beneficiary when it comes to those kills, though. 1.2k individual lead, BDD from the assists, and a bit of a farm advantage. Holding on to a decent lead of his own, has opted for a bit of healing reduction. Going to make things that much harder for Oner and Faker as the charge comes through.
And last time, this was the point where T1 turned the game. The lead this time is bigger for KT, but I think T1 don't want to let them get this dragon, want to get soap on themselves.
Faker's ulti available. Needs to hijack the ulti of Peter. Chip really starting to hurt onto Doran. Catch over the wall onto Cuzz, the most fed member. They're immediately going to delete him, and the rest of KT try to pull the trigger, but they can't quite find the angle. BDD, deokdam, they've got the range advantage. Peter waiting to peel for them if necessary. Perfect, spots them in the darkness. The tremor sense showing him what he needs to see, but they've stopped moving or have moved out of range. He can't be certain now. The Q from Doran moving in. Peter still gets the ulti. It's a golden eclipse from BDD. A new dawn for KT in game 2, but T1 are unconcerned. Guma, Keria standing, the bot lane. Will it be enough? BDD trying to buy her back, but it's Gumayusi fearlessly advancing, ricocheting, tearing through the dreams of KT.
Guma with the moves at the end. He gets the extra kills and cleans up for T1.
And Keria, I think he got the timing there on the polymorph perfectly as Faker with a blind chain. The follow-up is immediate, but the most important members on KT are still alive.
That play.
As we will take a look here as they attempt to turn onto Peter. And even though it doesn't quite work up, I think Doran was looking for the flash ult. Peter gets the ult off, which allows BDD to dish their damage. But watch here, Oner's low, and Perfect can't use his ult. If he stays alive, if he's able to get the execute, maybe that could have been enough.
So close, and then the Glitter Lance slows deokdam.
Flash.
Another
so
fight
that Guma's
breaking out
able
in the
to follow.
meantime. Guma potentially caught out. Cuzz looking for a bit of revenge. Oner doesn't quite make it over the wall at the flag and drag, but the ball breaker taking him to safety, and Gumayusi does not care. Look at that record at the bottom of your screen. He might have faltered in the early game. He might have been behind in game 1 and game 2, but this man is a team-fighting demon. The dragon starting to fall. Turn back from Faker as he catches out deokdam. Cuzz there to try and peel, but it is too late. Oner moving in. A cataclysm across the top side. Perfectly canceled. BDD flashing over the wall. Gumayusi still living. Perfect on the chase. Peter wants to fire back. Cuzz running for the hills. 2 down on the side of T1. But Guma might be enough. Perfect gets the bite. Tears right through him, and now it's Oner picked off as well. KT fighting for their lives. BDD still standing. Crucially, the extra damage. Doran set to fall. A double kill for the KT mid laner.
And BDD stands supreme on the mill. Stays alive through it all, and that is going to be the Otacon.
BDD said in the trailer that he was inspired to become a mid laner by Faker's play, and he was inspired to pick Mel in this game by Faker, and he's dominating on the Mel. Clutches it back up, and it's after a huge play from Faker, but BDD is able to use the ultimate to snipe him at the end.
And it's an overplay here. T1 try to force the hand. They waited it in game 1, but they're not actually able to get on top of BDD, who flashes over the pit, and then Peter ensures that Perfect can get on top of Guma, and all the while BDD just stacking up the passive, getting the damage down, and this is a really crucial teamfight win here for KT.
The funniest part to me is that while BDD was chasing down the last of those kills, Cuzz was actually just doing blue buff.
He was almost dead.
He was like, you guys got this. He's going to steal away the blue buff.
You got it, buddy.
Yep. They also grab the dragon in the aftermath. So KT retaking this team fight really is meaningful. They put a stop to the T1 dragon stacking.
And you can see how team fights go wrong for T1. Even though Gumayusi's been allowed to live for so long in these fights, if Doran and Oner don't quite have the damage to finish these kills, it's really hard for Guma to get in position to follow up, to chase down here. He has so many members of this team to work through, and T1, despite the deficit, have been fighting very well, but KT clearly upping their game in this draft and in this performance in game 2.
And that's one of the issues that we did see with the Sylas, right? Because you have this hyper carry in Gumayusi, who has the backup of the Lulu as well. But Faker, he's very cooldown gated, and he has been falling behind thus far, has been going for a lot of plays. And as we all know, Faker ain't no coward. He's going to keep going for those plays. But he does need to line up with the rest of his team, and I think that his role, particularly as we get deeper into the game, needs to be one of a little bit more restrained, because the damage from Doran and Oner is going to become less and less relevant as the game goes on.
Gumayusi, the hope for T1 to carry a lot of the DPS for later on. I still think some of these looks from Faker have been good looks as far as the initial pick, but the counterplay from KT has been so good, especially in that last one, grabbing the extra kills. And now you're looking at BDD over a 2,000 individual gold lead and trying to create his death cap right now. As soon as BDD gets death cap, this Mel is already obliterating people. It is just going to delete members of T1.
Already has that XP advantage too. And this is something that it's just going to make the game so difficult for T1 because, yes, diving on the Mel is good, but if you make one mistake, we've seen he's already able to turn these fights with his damage, and that number's only going to be going up.
We're also seeing the lack of mid lane turret actually being really rough for T1, right? You need to play so much safer, especially because your support is Lulu. You don't really have the ability to just go in and face check, really easily regain control. You always need a bodyguard. You need someone to make sure. And this is, for me, also a great opportunity to really shout out Perfect, because I think his we've seen, as we highlighted coming in, Rek'Sai has been both great and very mediocre. I don't think thus far he has been able to find the backline axis as Cuzz and Faker wants teammates going to take a glance at one another. Nothing's going to happen now. But the Otacon already taken by KT. Their next site's going to be on either the Baron in a minute or that Dragon. Second Drake for them. Coming up at about 2 minutes.
Neither side at Soul Point quite yet, although T1 certainly would love to be set up for it, especially with that Sivir just continuing to scale. How durable those team members can become, but Baron, more important, 43 seconds, Perfect trying to push in this wave. A lot of damage to finish that tower up, and now makes it pretty easy. It's just such a goofy champ.
It is.
You want a fist fight, he just tunnels away.
I just hope that jungle Rek'Sai doesn't get nerfs for all this top lane Rek'Sai.
This is what you have to
That
accept.
was getting from the pros.
It's collateral damage, Kobe.
Be happy that she's played, okay? Having a great time,
I am.
No.
tunneling away, getting
No.
the turrets.
That's how Kobe felt about Volibear, and then look what they did to Volibear. It got nerfed.
You want to talk about it?
I do
No.
not. What I want to talk about is what you guys brought up earlier, and it is the supporting cast for BDD on this team, because it is so heartwarming hearing the interviews from all of the KT members talking about how they want to perform well for BDD so that he can shine the brightest. Peter especially talking about he really wants it for BDD because BDD deserves it. And so we've seen a lot of, the Neeko play, him still just getting off Neeko ultimate as he's about to die, trying to get these setup plays. Those double roots between him and BDD have been very critical. Now, though, Doran is looking at deokdam.
deokdam, unaware of the Sion, but knows that he has relative safety.
Oh.
Has to be careful about walking forward towards that brush. And
this-
Doran, perfectly placed and baited. deokdam, far too confident.
Doran lying in wait makes Sion look like an assassin here. Walks into the charged up Q, and that is the perfect play.
Such a good sell there as well, but KT, they're turning the tables
Forcing.
on them.
Quiet.
Want to start the
I
sneak.
don't know.
Quiet.
Oh, no. I think they're
KT.
there you go. They're aware.
Now they spot it, but how quickly are they taking it? It's a Mel with a death cap.
We don't know. Look at where Oner is.
Now ready to turn back. But still, Cuzz continues to hit the target. BDD ready to clear the wave. Doran not afraid to walk up. He knows they don't really have the damage to finish the kill.
Doran smells it.
Cuzz, 9K, but he is determined to take this objective. The blast shield keeping him relatively healthy. BDD poking off to the side. Gumayusi for now uncontested. Rebuttal already used. 4 seconds till deokdam is up and available. And he has the TP.
I actually love this stall from KT. They're able to deny the soul point.
Pulling away T1 from that dragon for now. Doran is going to go back for his recall. He was the one with the watchful eye staring at them at the Baron. KT, though, as you say, they're going to teleport right down to that dragon and start it themselves.
And I think it makes sense that T1 gives it up, because looking at the spikes, Guma didn't have his IE, just now finishes it, and BDD did have his death cap. So fighting just before, really your main hyper carry has that crucial throw item break point. Definitely not the right call, but it's really the confidence of KT to say, hey, you killed deokdam, that's fine, we're going to put some pressures. He finishes the Serpent's Fang, which against Lulu and Sion, going to get a ton of value.
And now we get to see the critical point. Can the Sivir with 3 items outplay this KT, dive plus Mel damage? Because Mel has very long range. Sivir, while she does do well in team fights later on and can ricochet and make use of Lulu very well, sometimes it is hard to play around longer range champions like Mel poke damage and Ezreal poke damage here. So have to be cognizant both of the engages from the Neeko as well as dodging a lot of skill shots.
And again, we're looking at Guma to be the difference. deokdam has really been kind of silenced by the attention that T1 have paid to him, by his own misstep in the mid lane. At 3 items, matching Sivir isn't really where you want to be on the Ezreal. Has gone for the Serpent's Fang, but in the face of crit itemization, it's going to be so hard to match the damage that Sivir is bringing to the table.
Everyone holding their breath for the next team fight to see if KT can turn this gold lead into a team fight victory for one of these critical objectives. Baron is on the map. Scuttle Crabs have transformed. They can pop this and then immediately clear out the rest of the vision and then try and draw T1 over.
I love it when, you know, we talk about these players, we're like, oh man, they're doing so, and then you look at the damage charts and like, yeah, that tracks. This to me is a breaking point for the world's title. If KT are unable to actually take this game, you're going down 0-2 against the most successful org of all time. That's perfect. Will get spotted, but is Rek'Sai, so should be okay for now. But for KT, they haven't been able to really break the game. This gold lead has, I think it was the highest, like maybe 4.5K. It's kind of been stymied, and it will all just come down to do you kill Guma, yes or no? And with both sums up, with a Sion, with a maybe defensive ult from Faker, if he can get that Neeko ult, and Keria, it's going to be easier said than done.
Absolutely. Game 1, it felt like 2 to 3K gold lead. This game, 4.5, as you said. If that's not enough to close, you start to wonder if any lead really is. T1 have not played flawlessly. Faker and Oner over pushing a bit. It's what's given BDD this massive lead on top of, you know, being able to play those side lanes so well. But now level 16 for BDD. He has the tools. He has the damage to carry these fights. But can all of KT execute together? Because T1 thus far in the series have just been playing the team fights better.
It all comes down to this. The final series of the year for League of Legends. Can KT make their stand? They've got vision on Baron. Currently, I believe we're just awaiting the Guardian Angel completions. It should be very similar for both Oner as well as Cuzz, but it's just such a huge breakpoint for junglers, both of them being the heavy engage. And so then we'll get to see at the next Dragon, the confrontation here, or if someone is able to maneuver some vision around the Baron. He's got a lot of tunnels available to him.
Nothing gonna happen for now. And maybe both teams don't want to run the risk of just starting Baron, right, with the amount of damage that's available on either side. KT, though, definitely going to play for vision here, and their damage, if BDD is there with the W from Cuzz, definitely can do a lot of denting to that Baron.
TP up towards the mid lane, coming in from Doran. T1 seemingly ready and willing to force the fight here. They have bot push in their favor. They know Perfect must respond, so they have a brief window of opportunity to take control of the pit.
Interesting breakpoint, too, because Cuzz finished this Guardian Angel, but Oner did not. So they have one extra life here for KT for the moment. Doesn't look like T1 are going to give them much just yet.
And because of the lack of soul point, both teams can actually just go for Baron. If the other one over-invests onto a Camtech soul, I do think that this is one of those games where particularly T1 will get a crazy amount of value out of it. Both the shielding and the amount of health that's available to healing as Cuzz walks in. We'll just steal away that buff.
Takes the blue buff. Bot wave pushed in favor of KT. Top wave pushed in favor of T1. deokdam using the Ezreal ulti to try to get control of the wave, but the angle's a little bit off. Shouldn't matter too much. Mystic Shot still giving him the range advantage over Guma. Keria healing up as he does get sniped by it. Well caught, Chronicler. Of course, and this is the point of the game where, as much as I would love to tell you that the center of your screen matters, this is really just about the mini-map. It's about the pushing waves. It's about who can find these little advantages. Good news for KT, getting that TP out of Doran, holding on to Perfect's TP for themselves, but they need to get more if they want to be favored in this fight.
GA's done. The third item for Faker also has a stopwatch. BDD, not a full completion quite yet, as there is perfect vision set up and the waves are pushed, so KT should be feeling good about setting up this Dragon.
Ooh, the Lord Doms just got completed by Guma as well. Big power boost here. 4-item Sivir.
Sneaking it. Oh, they're calling the bluff. They know.
Full committing. T1 now turning to Baron. They don't want to risk the contest here. Oner starting the objective. As you get into the fight, keep your eyes on the key carries, Guma and BDD. If either one falls, their team very likely to win the fight. Interrupt there. The Baron not very quick. Chemtech Drake down. Soul point there. Might just come down to the 50-50. Cuzz on the way. T1 tried to make the counterplay, but walk away empty-handed.
The poke damage is really good from KT. The double range advantage we talk about with Ezreal, with the Mel here, finding a lot of success.
The Serpent's Fang as well. And KT just called their bluff. They're like, normal teams, they see T1 start Baron, like, okay, we have to, because you know they'll commit. But KT, cognizant of the amount of damage that T1 has, and it's simply not enough. As the soul point of this Chemtech Soul now secured for KT.
And really double value out of that, because not only do they call T1's bluff, Perfect also able to get some pressure down on the opposite side of the map. And this is the map play that we saw from KT in the early game of Game 1, but was sorely lacking in the later stages. That said, T1 constantly on the hunt, waiting, looking for these angles. If KT make one tiny mistake, they're looking to pounce.
T1 now looking to pounce. deokdam in the river, but he is Ezreal.
deokdam. Pass over the wall. Peter looking to make a play. Lockdown onto Faker, looking to turn it back. Root is connected as well. Faker's been caught. Buys a brief moment with the Seekers. The rest of T1 retreating. Perfect buying the space and the tunnel over the wall. It's a heist. He buys the time to take Faker down. Doran with a decimating smash. Peter on the chase. They'll only connect onto one, but it's enough to start the fight in their favor. Gumayusi untouched, but he's also not able to do any damage. Cuzz keeping it going. KT pushing into the jungle of T1, zoning them away from the Baron as they set their sights on that Red Bull Baron power play.
They win the critical fight. They find Faker, they get the advantage, and Perfect is able to escape. Wait a second.
BDD flash. Doran forced to flash back over the wall. Sidestep on the decimating smash. Peter there to cover. Guma can't push for anything else. Doran getting chunked out. That's the ulti to seal it. BDD going godlike. Guma alone in the mid lane. Objective slowly falling. Oner zoned off. Perfect there with the knockup. Needs to lock it down. Oner's not going to have a chance. KT, it takes some time, but they take down the Baron.
In the last game, KT went for a couple of team fights. They didn't go their way, and they didn't get to play the video game. This time, it's restraint. They're waiting patiently, find the opportunity that they needed, as it is the catch onto Faker that sets it all up.
Exactly, the root into Vi combination gets his Zhonya's early, and then here, Perfect at the back. This is one of the best changes they made to Rek'Sai. After using your ult, your W just goes on a 1 second cooldown, so you can then use Tunnel to escape. It adds so much more survivability to the champion. Being able to escape, and on the world stage, they show it. Then the rest of KT, after they took down Faker, they could push through for the chase.
I love as well there, because maybe I think the rest of T1 could have gone for a play to try and save Faker if it wasn't for Peter also holding the angle there. You can't just walk past the Neeko because Peter held his ult, and now the Red Bull Baron power play for KT, 8k, 9k gold lead here, 35 minutes in.
Guma incredibly far ahead, 4 items, has a bit of lifesteal, can clear the waves, but the range, the threat that KT can bring with the Ezreal, with Mel from BDD, 11, 3, and 3, 3,000 individual gold lead. His first competitive game looking damn good. Faker going golden. The second the chains miss, he doesn't want to push for anything else. Ball break over the wall from Cuzz, ready to go, but he's not going to overextend because the mid lane's already falling. KT taking their sweet time with this one, knowing that T1 have one shot to turn this back in their favor.
It's just Guma. He's just a Sivir trying his best, but KT doesn't give him the opportunity to do any damage.
Perfect continuing to push, has access to the tunnel to escape. He's just been a thorn in the side of this T1 lineup. So many Rek'Sais haven't been able to find this level of performance, but Perfect has been a nightmare for T1 to manage. Waiting now off on the side. Takes out the control ward. A single empowered cannon minion pushing as another wave stands behind KT, ready to keep the siege going.
The siege is unrelenting from KT. The Baron buff still buffing up the cannon. The poke damage still coming through.
Oner faking the engagement, throws down the flag, misses with the Q to ensure that he doesn't go too far forward. KT don't quite break open that bot lane inhibitor.
Looks like instead they're going to base. They still have perfect timing here on the Baron. That sets up for the Chemtech Soul. That's what they're going to play towards. Mid lane inhibitor, not the best one. Faker might actually get his death cap, which would be a colossal spike for him to get. I just don't know if they're going to have an opportunity to actually contest, as, again, Perfect to me has been playing on the edge of these engages so nicely this entire game.
And the other thing to remember is that Faker had taken away Peter's ultimate in the previous fight. Now, of course, has access to the cease and desist. Now wants to make the play onto Perfect. Perfect able to get the blast cone out, that mega blast cone, keeping him healthy. KT standing strong, poking T1 as they walk into this choke point. BDD waiting for some of those major cooldowns to be used before he takes a step forward. Mega Blast Cone getting 2 members of T1 over the wall. KT retreating back down to the bottom lane as Cuzz starts the objective. Flag there, spots the objective play. Faker on the flank. Perfect not going to give him the angle. KT starting to retreat. Starting to get forced backwards. Doran to kick things off. Peter to look for the interrupt. Faker using an ulti of his own to be stolen away. BDD taking out the fight. But down goes Guma. Cuzz making it work, but PD's owned away by Keria. And all of KT now collapsing on the T1 support. At the end of the day, it is only Oner, and he cannot stop the soul.
KT get the soul, and they want the Nexus too!
Perfect continues to push down. They've learned, they've adapted, they've stayed strong in the face of the game 1 loss. KT firing back against T1, but do they have the power to end the game? Another TP, deokdam on the way. Doran giving everything to clear the waves. Oner and Keria here. Surely the Ezreal is enough, but the creeps are falling back. Doran remains standing. T1 are not out of it yet. deokdam needs more, and he cannot get it.
Guma's up in 10 seconds. The reinforcements from T1 will arrive.
And T1 will cling on to this game. No Baron up minions means that KT, even with the damage dealers dead, does not get the opportunity to actually end. And T1 battered, but they'll get one more shot to try and deny KT a chance to equalize the series.
The roller coaster keeps going up. So look at BDD trying to kite Oner and Doran on the bottom side. Meanwhile, Peter had the massive engage, which allowed Cuzz and Perfect to go kill off the Sivir.
And with Sivir taken out of the fight, really the only one is Faker, and he was caught by that counter engage. And with even BDD going down, doesn't matter if you don't have your own damage dealers. As in about a minute, the Baron will come up, 2 inhibs are down, and KT looking to equalize the series here as deokdam hits full items.
Full build there, full build for Guma, now has the lifesteal, 100% crit chance. If he has the space to work, he can do the necessary damage. Death Cap's still a little bit of a ways away for Faker. Likely he recalls and finishes it here, but in the previous fight, did have the Pot Blossom, but couldn't find that big angle, couldn't find that big moment to shift the fight in the favor of T1.
And the timer is great for KT because it's the bot lane inhib that is still down for another 3.5 minutes. Mid lane not that valuable, especially against the Sivir, but that bot lane needs to be answered or it can just straight up end the game.
Patience, the name of the game for KT. They don't need to take any risks. We've seen the players, they've gotten over-eager in game 1. They've made some of those fumbles. deokdam getting caught in the mid lane just earlier this game. But the push is in their favor. The map is in their favor. They don't need to risk anything. And still, they'll take their time walking into the jungle. This time around, Doran won't be able to find the blind decimating smash. But the ulti to kick things off, he connects onto the wall. Perfect waiting on the back line. deokdam untouched, BDD untouched. Doran straying way too far forward in a moment of miscommunication. Down goes the top laner of T1. KT start the Baron.
That faceplant means Baron, boys.
It was always going to be a Hail Mary from T1 if they wanted to get back in this game, but that one does not hit the mark. That's Baron, the second one for KT.
When we talk about T1 hitting a wall, I didn't expect it to be so literal. As KT now push on the top side.
You got him good there.
18 out of 20 for that one.
Perfect score, some would say. Perfect himself, of course, has the Randuin's available, or doesn't have it available, but has the slow. The crit damage reduction makes him such a nightmare for Guma to deal with, even with the armor penetration from the Lord Dominic's. KT again in this position where they keep that long-range siege going. BDD not showing on vision yet. The last inhib tower falling down. Inhibitors following after. T1, a last desperate hold here in game 2. If they can turn it back, it takes them to match point, but KT set to even up the series in the 2025 World Finals. Doran isolating Cuzz. Peter going forward, finds 3 with the knockup. Perfect there to fall, but Faker turns it right back and knocks down Peter. deokdam, BDD, still standing. Baguma! He's shredding through everybody! The Sivir finally allowed to take over the fight, but they managed to take him. Faker still alive in the scrappy fight. The extra healing is making all the difference. deokdam doesn't quite have the damage that he needs. KT holding on for dear life. deokdam able to find the kill. Perfect. Cuzz, deokdam falls. A final hold for T1. It almost turns in their favor. But Perfect is going to end the game. Guma dies, and so does T1. KT even up the series.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but perfect, reliable as all hell in this game, doesn't go down, deals the damage, and with the alpaca thumbs up, brings KT to 1-1.
KT resilient on this stage. They bounce back in game number 2. They create such a lead, but it still seems so difficult, you know, brick by brick, piece of gold by piece of gold. KT, they have defeated T1 in the second game to even up the series.
It's incredible, incredible stuff. But before we talk about that game and what's ahead in the series, we saw him in the opening ceremony. Now let's check out the world debut of Zahan. Take a look.